Mothers and fathers and elders, they have given us all they can. They stood up and fought to protect us in this hard and bitter land. Their trials must give us courage, every woman and man. None are free unless all are. We pledge our lives to take back our land. You know it's time to stand like a people. You know it's time to stand like a people today. It's time to stand like a people. Stand up and say, no more wondering, we are finally on our way. All they can. They stood up and fought to protect us in this hard and bitter land. Their trials must give us courage, every woman and man. None are free unless all are. We pledge our lives to take back our land. You know it's time to stand like a people. You know it's time to stand like a people today. It's time to stand like a people. Stand up and say, no more wondering, we are finally on our way.
Ashe, ashe. Grand Rising Wosei. Grand Rising. Wosei is a community of the sacred African way. The way is Maat, truth, justice, and righteousness. We believe in the teachings of our elders and our ancestors that the Creator God created the universe and all life and has placed in each of us a part of the divine spirit. God living in us and through us has given us the right and the power to establish peace and justice in all human life and true harmony with all creation. And now, with our affirmation, we have Mr. Alicia and Baba Stiley. Please come forward.
We are here.
Great.
Good morning, Wosei. Wosei community affirmation. We will know God's truth to be free and self-determined.
Creator, help us to remember the humanity, glory, and suffering of our ancestors, and to honor the struggles of our elders.
Let us strive to bring new vision and life to our people. Let there be peace and harmony among us.
Let us be loving, sharing, and creative. Let us work, study, and listen, so we may learn, teach, and cultivate self-reliance.
Grant us power, O Holy One, as we struggle to resurrect our hearts and our homeland.
We will raise our children according to the needs of our nation, with discipline, patience, devotion, and courage. We will strive to be the living models of the new direction of our people.
We are African people.
We are children of God. You're on mute.
Baba Jeff, try that mute button. Baba Jeff, you having a song for us?
Wake up.
Do 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 do.
We need to wake up.
Do 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 do.
People, black people, don't you know
that we need it so.
History.
Do 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 do.
We need our history.
Do 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 do.
People, black people, don't you know
that we need it so.
And ever since we were brought to this land, there has been a master plan to keep us knowing ourselves.
So if you wanna be free, please and read a relevant book about our history. Do 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 do. Unity. Do 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 do.
We need unity.
Do 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 do.
People, black people, don't you know
that we need it so.
Wake up.
Do 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 do.
Whoa, study your history
Do 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 do.
so that we can build unity
Do 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 do.
that will lead to victory,
Do 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 do.
that will bring us true equality.
Do 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 do.
People, black people, don't you know
that we need it so. Wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up.
Yeah, one of my favorites. I love that one.
Fantastic. And now, Baba Damani, you have a historical tribute for us? Baba Damani?
You're muted. You're muted, Damani.
Damani, we can't hear you.
Okay, I hear you all now.
Great.
Okay, let me see how to share my screen here. I don't see my share button. Oh boy. But I closed let me close my presentation. Okay, here we go. Okay, today's, let me get my automation right. I'm sorry about this. Oh man, what's going on here? Oh shoot. Can y'all hear me?
Just fine.
Yes.
Okay, I'm waiting for I hit slide transition. I'm waiting for it to pop up. I'm having technical difficulties here. Okay, here we go. Y'all can see my screen. Okay, today is historical tribute on Dr. Jacob Carruthers, AKA African name is oh man, what I keep having screen keep shifting on me. Oh
And
boy.
we do not see your screen. Did you push
Can't
share?
see your screen anyway.
Yeah, push share.
Here it's coming.
Okay, now it's saying that it's coming.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to get my presentation to pop up here.
We are patient people.
Okay. Lord, I did this several times before. I didn't have this problem.
Of course, the gremlins don't come up until you're on stage.
I'm trying to see my screen. I can't see my screen. I'm trying to see my screen myself, trying to widen the view. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Oh, man.
Can you see your slide presentation?
Can I see my slide presentation?
We can see your screen. If you open the presentation on the screen, maybe we can see it too.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to open it. Oh, I'm back to join meeting. Oh, man, I'm all, shoot.
Well, don't get frustrated.
I don't know what to.
One of the buttons down at the bottom of your screen should be clickable to open it.
Right, I thought my presentation was open. I got too many things up. Can you anything you can do and come back to me in a minute?
Why don't we go to the song, Baba Jeff? If you could come in with the song, and then perhaps Brother Damani would have worked out the issues that he's having.
Yes.
Okay, he's gonna have to unshare the screen.
Okay. How do I unshare my screen?
I just did. I just did.
Oh, you just did. Okay, thanks.
We are children of the sun. In every task, we shall overcome. We were the first upon the earth, and will be the last. That's the holy word. We are children of the sun. In every task, we shall overcome. We were first upon the earth. We'll be the last. That's the holy word. We are children of the sun. We are children of the sun. Oh, yes, we are. We were first upon the earth. First upon the earth. We're gonna be the last. That's the holy word. We were first.
Brother Lee Donald, yeah. Ashe. Abdumani.
All right, I think I'm ready now. All right, let me.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's see if I can do a slide transition here. Okay, here we go. Today's tribute is on Dr. Jacob Carruthers Jr., aka Mizzy Jidi Shamsu Jehuti. That's his African name. Anyway, Dr. Carruthers has a very extensive bio that can be Googled for the sake of time. He earned respect as one of the leading experts in classical African civilizations, conducting study tours in numerous countries, lecturing at various educational institutions. Dr. Carruthers served as founding president of ASCAC, ASCAC, Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization. He's the author of Intellectual Warfare, author of Irritated Journey, an essay on the Haitian Revolution. He also wrote the Madu Netua, Divine Speech, his subtitle, Historiographical Reflection on African Deep Thought, from Pharaohs to the Present. Okay, this is a picture of Dr. Carruthers, Dr. Jacob Carruthers. Okay, I got about a 12-minute presentation. Let me move fast. Okay, I'm going to share, I'm going to do something different. You all are in for some kaumba here. I'm going to share a parable that Dr. Carruthers shared in one of his lectures on YouTube. The full lecture, Truth and Worldview, is 111 minutes long. Before I can tell the parable, I got to give you some pre-parable information so we can put the parable in context. The parable, Truth and Falsehood, he did it in memory of Dr. John Henry Clark, who became his mentor. The parable, Truth and Falsehood, will explain the essence of the man, his core mission. Also, the core mission of his mentor, Dr. Clark, Also, the core mission of the grandfather historians like Dr. Ben Jocana, Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop, Dr. Chancellor Williams, Dr. George G. Jackson, others like Professor Hanbury and others. In the parable, you will hear the skillful use of allegories and metaphors to transmit concepts, principles, and ideas. Also, on how to engage the right hemisphere of the brain and understanding the exotoid symbolism of ancient Kemet, and to gain insight into our creation stories. Okay, I added a little bit to the parable to make it juice it up, make it nice. I added a little bit to the parable, so moving on. I'm going to give some pre-parable information. Okay, in 1971, trying to get rid of this thing at the top of my screen. I better not touch anything. In 1971, Dr. Carruthers had his first sit-down meeting with Dr. Clark. He was giving a lecture and he commented on the previous speakers that came before him. Knowing that he was playing lightly with truth, when leaving the auditorium, he was stopped by his mentor, who later became his mentor, Dr. Clark, John Henry Clark, who said he wanted to talk to him about truth. The talk lasted 4 hours, and Dr. Clark, he says, straightened him out, telling him the importance of truth, Maat, that the literature of Kemet was permeated with the wisdom of Maat, and that they, the grandfather historians I just mentioned on the last previous slide, was engaged in an African history project, African world history project. I left that up. A memory restoration project that ran counter to European historiography, telling him that the likes of Harold Bloom, Mary Lickowitz, Arthur Schlesinger Jr., and others was hell-bent on discrediting their scholarship. So he said, we can't give falsehood the light of day, telling him that restoring truth, putting Maat back on the throne was their task, and that our character must always honor the goddess Maat. Pre-proper information continued. Dr. Clark was told by his mentor, Arturo Schoenberg, that what he was asking for, the complete knowledge of African history, was the missing pages of world history. Telling him to go study the history of your oppressors, and you will find out how you got left out, who left you out, and why you got left out. And that no oppressor, we all heard this plenty of times, no oppressor can successfully oppress an historically conscious people. Dr. Clark made it his holy mission, his priesthood, his pursuit in finding out his people's role in world history, says Dr. Carruthers, saying many times that we was left out of the respectful commentary of history, and that we had a history older than our oppressors. Dr. Carruthers learned from a historian in Burkina Faso. Dr. Carruthers learns that African history equals national memory. And when you destroy the history of a people, you destroy the people. So a quick comment on the scholar warrior. You know, I've been studying this stuff for like these books for 37 years, and I just realized this is serious business. These scholar warriors was engaged in serious business to restore the memory of a people, to restore our history as a people. And so I think they deserve a lot of credit. On my last presentation, I made a comment by Reverend James Cone that Martin and Malcolm was like soldiers on the battlefield, fighting their enemy from different angles of vision. So the scholar warrior in the same light is fighting the enemy in the halls of academia. Anyway, he goes on to point out that the history of a people has always been passed down through the intergenerational transmission model, from one generation to the next. The Europeans, in their arrogance, started writing their own versions of world history, severed the intergenerational transmission model, conveniently ignoring the writings of Gerald Mason, Herodotus, Aristotle, etc. Okay, on page 40 of Professor Manu's book, he had civilizations. I got something blocking my screen. I got on page, oh boy, not page 40. On page 39 of Professor Manu's book, he got civilizations, a tradition of myths and wild claims. Now he's got a different list than I got. He got Hegel, but he got a different list than I got. But I'm gonna read through some of these right quick, and you can see what the grandfathers, historians, dedicated their life to restoring our national memory, our history. Hegel, paraphrasing, said, "At this point, we leave Africa." Oh shoot! Let me see if I can go back. Hegel, paraphrasing, says, "At this point, we leave Africa, not to mention it again. It's an unhistorical part of the world. No historical movements or development to exhibit. Egypt, in its northern part, belongs to the Asiatic or European world. In his book, The History of Philosophy, he explains the history in 3 stages. He starts history in Oriental China. Then he goes to Roman and Greece, where they go through adolescence. Then he goes to Germany and Europe, leaving Africa and other peoples of color out completely. Hegel commits the crime of historicide. That is the erasing of a people's history, the killing. He used the word killing of a people's history, says Dr. Carruthers. Plato says, since we Greeks got in such a porous history, no intergenerational transmission model, let us just invent the history, just make it up. Going on to the bottom, this is Alan Locke. He says history of civilization got 3 stages: hunter-gatherer, substance agriculture, and the highest stage, industrialism. Europeans the only one to reach the third and highest stage. This is the kind of racism we were dealing with in academia. Montesquieu, this is one of the philosophers, I think it's the Greek philosopher, French philosopher, Montesquieu. He wrote The Doctrine of White Supremacy, says Dr. Carruthers. Paraphrasing, on enslaving the peoples of Africa, we need someone to clear the land. Sugar would be too expensive if there were no slaves to cultivate the plant. The people in question is black. Nose so squashed, it's hard to feel sorry for them. The mind cannot accept that God would put a soul in such an ugly body. And so this is Dante. He wrote The Doctrine of Manifest Destiny, basically saying that might make right, and we have Rome. God must have meant for the people of Rome and Europe to rule the world. And I got this, Senator Henry Berry, I got this from Anthony Broder. In 1832, addressing slave owners, we have, as far as possible, closed every avenue by which light may enter the slave's mind. If we could extinguish the capacity to see the light, our work would be complete. They would be on the level of beasts of the fields, and we would then be safe. 1832, that was 1 year after the Nat Turner Rebellion in Virginia. Anyway, getting to the parable. The parable, truth versus falsehood. Truth and falsehood both live near the beautiful temple of Ipit-Asut, the most selective places in the city of Waset. 1 million people the world over would make annual pilgrimage to the temple where the presence of the god Amun was believed to have resided on earth. Truth, a priest and highly skilled brick mason, was revered for his character and sought after for his knowledge of temple construction in the city of Waset and Maat. He accepted only donations for his tours and classes, just as if everyone would adhere to the teachings of the goddess Maat. So that our golden age of peace, this is important here, our golden age of peace and social tranquility will endure. Golden age of peace and social tranquility will endure. That's what the god Amun loves. 3,000 years from now, this golden age of peace, heaven on earth, will become unimagined, fairy tale-ish, to souls and minds warped by an age of pestilence. Falsehood, a worthy herdsman who inherited his wealth, wanted power and control. Power, control, and adulation was envy of all the adulation given to truth. The story begins with falsehood going to court before the 9 great judges of the universe, telling a lie. The truth stole his dagger, and the handle of his dagger was made of all the trees in the forest. The blade was made of all the copper in the copper mountains and encased in diamonds. It was a beautiful, fabulous dagger. Falsehood paid 6 witnesses to collaborate his story and asked the judges to let in blind truth in both eyes, and that he be made a doorkeeper at his door. 6 of the 9 judges appointed by falsehood ruled in his favor. A year later, saying all the continued adulation, respect, and deference paid to truth to Maat, he ordered his servants to take him and throw him in the lion's den. On the way to the lion's den, Truth asked the servants of falsehood if he really wanted to do this. Being ashamed, knowing the truth was an honorable man, they left him on the roadside. Truth was picked up hours later by the servants of a wealthy widow who had a beautiful home on the hill overlooking Tamari land, beloved land, Kemet. Truth was so beautiful and wise, she quickly fell in love with him, married and bore a son named Justice. Truth set out on a 14-country tour. Years later in school, Justice was being teased about not having a father. He went home and he questioned his mother. She told him that the blind man named Mr. Truth, who sits by the door, who taught you your history about Maat and the brickmason skills, is your father. He went and talked to his father and found out what happened to his father. His father told him he had to keep his identity secret and didn't want him to confront falsehood until he was older. Truth sent his son on a journey to visit Dahudi in the kingdom of Cush. Before leaving, his son left a beautiful cow with a shepherd that cared for 1,000 heads of cattle belonging to falsehood, and told him to care for the cow and he would pay him when he returned. Soon after, falsehood, seeing how beautiful the cow was, ordered him slaughtered so he can eat him. His shepherd said it belonged to a young man who left it in his care. Falsehood said he can have any 2 cows he wants when he's returned. Slaughter the cow now. When the son of truth returned and found out what happened, he took falsehood to court before the 9 great judges of the universe for stealing his cow, telling the judges he had a beautiful, fabulous cow. His tail was in the delta. His head reached the first cataract. His one horn reached the western mountains, the other horn the eastern mountains, and his body was the length of the Nile. And it sounds like who can tell the best lie. But the 9 judges looked at each other and said, it was never a cow that big and fabulous. The son of truth said, neither was there a dagger that fabulous that started this whole thing. I'm the son of truth. He is still alive. I come to avenge my father. I ask that you judge between truth and falsehood. The dagger represents the way of violence, falsehood and violence, the way of the Europeans. The cow, the way of peace. The cow, the way of peace and truth, the way of truth and peace. And that's the way of the Africans, the way of truth and peace. And my father's truth is still alive. This is the last one. Truth versus falsehood. Falsehood jumps up in his arrogance, saying that's impossible. How can truth be alive? After what I did to truth, I blinded truth. I slandered and dismembered truth. I paganized and demonized his culture, wrote him out of history. After 500 years of the Ma'afa, 246 years of slavery, Jim Crow, colonialism, colonization, how can truth possibly be alive? After being thrown in the lion's den, that's in the lion den, same thing as prisons and ghettos. I ask for a judgment. If truth be alive, I will be blinded in both eyes and made a doorkeeper at the house of truth. At that moment, truth walked through the door, through the courthouse doors, holding 14 golden manuscripts, the missing pages of world history. 14 represents the mutilated pieces of Assad's body, consciousness, and proclaimed the truth, the way of the goddess Maat is still alive. And that's the end. Thank you. And yeah, that's the end.
Thank you.
Yeah, real good,
Well
Imani.
done.
Very creative approach to the tribute. Very good.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Worth the wait.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Okay, thank you.
Outstanding, Brother Blood. Thank you, thank you. So
A
now
great
we'll
historical
have,
tribute! Exclamation mark.
mhm.
yes,
Absolutely.
yes, great tribute.
Mhm.
Now for our litany of sacrifice, Mama Afua, Baba Karabazi.
Good morning, Wose community, Wose family. It's
morning.
Good to see everybody in the gallery. It's good to welcome back our sister Afua, who has been traveling. We've missed her presence since she's been away. So it's good to be back with her. Pleased to share this litany with her. And the inspirational reading comes from the Lucia. Page 45 in the book of Ptahhotep. This is Lucia, and I'm always flashing it because this is the first printing of the Lucia. So, passage number 12. Share with your friends that which you have, for that which is yours is a gift of God. Those who fail to share with their friends are shunned for having a selfish soul. Although people might plan for tomorrow, they do not know what will come to pass. But it is righteousness which people are sustained. Therefore, if misfortune comes and you have been righteous with your friends will welcome you. Peace will not be found in a city where friends are forgotten and their deeds not answered. You want to take the lead, Mama Fua?
Yes. And my soul is so lifted, being with the Wose community is really like being with the ancestors and the spirit. So here's the litany of sacrifice. Save us, O Holy One, by your name. Vindicate us by your might. Hear my prayer, divine protector. Listen to the words of my mouth. How can we repay the Holy One for the gifts that have been given to us? We lift up the cup of salvation and call upon the God of our ancestors. We will fulfill our vows to our Creator in the presence of all our people. Gladly, we bring our sacrifices to you. We praise your name, O Amun-Ra, for it is good. Umoja, unity. We shall strive to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race.
Kujichagulia, self-determination. We shall define, name, create, and speak for ourselves.
Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We shall build and maintain our communities together. Our brothers and sisters' problems shall be ours to solve together.
Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Together, we should build and maintain our own businesses and together profit from them.
Nia, purpose. We shall make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community and the restoration of our people to our traditional greatness.
Kaumba, creativity. We shall do as much as we can in any way we can to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than when we inherited it.
Imani, faith. We will believe with all our hearts in our God, our people,
and the righteousness and victory of our struggle.
Yes.
Okay, Wose, you see on the screen the addresses for Wose, Oakland, and Wose, Sacramento. Also, there are electronic ways that you can also donate by going into the respective websites, and you'll find links there where you can make an electronic donation if you don't want to send in a check through the street address to the P.O. box. in Sacramento. And so we welcome all contributions. And I would take a moment to just say a few words over these contributions. O Holy One, Divine Creator, we thank you for these contributions. We thank you for the Wose community and the fact that we have been able to be here to sustain ourselves within ourselves for more than 42 years. We give thanks. We thank each and every one that took the time to donate. We thank those that didn't donate but wanted to donate. And we pray for a well-being within themselves and within their lives, that they will be able to contribute at some point to the extent that they choose. We ask, O Holy One, that you continue to bless us with donations from outside and from abroad. We ask for the clarity of mind and thinking to use our contributions in sustaining ourselves in the most efficient way. We ask, O Holy One, that you be with us throughout the remainder of this service, that you bless the one that would come with a word, with a message that you need to hear. We ask that you open your hearts and minds to receive that message. This is my prayer. Ashe, Amen Ra. Ashe, Amen Ra. Amen Ra. Ashe.
Thank you, Mama Afua and Baba Katabazi. Now, from this, that, and many other sites on the continent, we welcome back our own Professor Manu Ampim.
Yes.
Professor Ampim, glad to see you home.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Bill. Glad to be back, my brother. Hotep and greetings, we'll say.
Uncle Jocelyn.
Uncle Jocelyn.
Ashe.
Ashe all day. So I have the pleasure of sharing with you something that I sure that will be useful, because, you know, information without usefulness and information without application doesn't help us very much. So I wanted to make sure I can share something to help us in our spiritual tradition as we move forward and making an impact in our lives and also leaving a legacy. So I want to share with you something I've been looking at for a while. And I think that as a community, folks have some bits and pieces of this topic, but I want to go further and give you some insight about things that you're generally familiar with, because every generation has to make contributions and build on what the ancestors and others have laid out as a foundation, because we have to use their work not as a mattress to lie down on, but as a springboard to do greater work. It is a fundamental difference. So we have to be able to look at contributions and figure out the significance and nature of the contributions and how we can extend them, and not simply quote and refer to what others did in the past without building on that legacy. So I want to show some slides in order to deal with this topic. And so I want to address, in the few minutes I have, the classical African flag and Pan-Africanism. So we have an ancient flag that is not so well known. And there's kind of pieces of the information, but we haven't really put it out there so that we have a firm foundation of what is our original flag. Every group has to have a flag, just like every organization has a logo. By definition, they have a logo. Every organization has a name, but also a flag is also central to any significant organization moving forward. So a flag is crucial. And I'm sure that with our collective and individual experiences, we're familiar with Pan-Africanism, but there's another level to put this in total context as we deal with a flag, which is one of the most fundamental symbols. And, you know, somebody said that a picture or an image is worth how many words did they say or count?
1,000.
1,000.
They said 1,000. I don't know if it's 999 words or 1,003. I know that images are impactful. So we have to be updated and clear on our images and our symbols. So that's really the context for presenting this this information. So let me first bring us back to our classical spiritual tradition in Kemet. So that the Wose's theology is really based on the spiritual philosophy of Kemet. So if you look at this and other temples, this is the pylons or the temple walls, and you see here these two niches on the left and two niches on the right. This is where the classical African flag from Kemet would be standing right there. The actual flags don't exist anymore, but we know exactly where those flags would have been. It's always on the outside of the temple. And sometimes it might be a series of these, what people call pylons. And so there can be series of flags, but here it's always on that outer wall. And that's what this represents, where the classical African flags from Kemet would have been located. And you see it in one temple after another. This is at Edfu. Take a look at Luxor. We see that there's always balance in African, not only African art, but African spiritual tradition, there's balance. So the artists and architects and others were at their best when it came to visual art and having an immediate and profound impact on people, not only the grand scale of the production of the art and architecture, but the tremendous balance, harmony, and proportion. And then when they start to focus on color schemes, there's nobody better. There's never been anybody better than the color schemes that they're able to come up with to have an immediate impact on people. So here you see the Tekken is on the left. What happened to the one on the right? Well, it's stolen. Now it's in Paris. And there would have been other statues here on the left. You see a head of one, but these statues would have flanked both the left pylon and the right pylon. But you do see the niches here for the classical African flag from Kemet. You see it in one temple after another. This is the Karnak temple. Notice that there's 4 on the left, there's 4 on the right. So you notice that there's a consistent pattern because every nation has a flag. No exceptions. If they're a nation, now if they're just a group of individuals running around, they would not have a flag. But in Kemet, they're very clear about the significance of the flag and it being associated directly and intimately with the center of the society, which was the temple. The temple was the heartbeat of Kemet. And they have the flag there on these temples, as you see, on the outside walls. And here you can see, and some of you have been to these places, you've been with me or you've been on your own or with other groups, but these are never really explained, typically by the local guides, either because they don't know or because they don't think it's significant. Of course it's significant. What was the flag that was used in Kemet? How can someone not really focus on that? But that's typically what happens. So we have to have a tradition that's rooted in how we present it and establish our original flag, because it certainly has implications in the 20th and now 21st century. Take a look at the Philae Temple. You see where the flags would have been. It's consistent and it's clear because every nation had to do that, and you see it very clearly in Kemet. This is the symbol. So this is the flagpole. This is the Medu Neter symbol for it represents anything holy or divine, anything associated with God or the creator. And so this is it. So in linguistics, this is how we transliterate it. is in, and then this is not a regular T. This is a T with a diacritical mark, that line underneath, that's called a diacritical mark in linguistics. So as students of linguistics, we know if we see a diacritical mark here, it means that it's not a regular T. It has the sound of TCH. So it's not netter, it is netter. And that's why every linguist has to, by definition, put the diacritical mark. There's a fundamental difference between the regular T and this T, which sounds like a ch sound. So it's netter. And this is the fundamental symbol dealing with and associated with the creator, anything holy, anything divine. That's what the symbol represents. And you see it represented there on the outside of the temple walls. Take a look. This is the flagpole representing holy, divine, something related to the creator, spiritual matters. And this was a fundamental importance in Kemet. So take a look at this powerful image of Amen Min, where this is the symbol here. You have the Netra symbol and the Dua symbol as well. And so the people are adoring and giving high respect to the Netra. If you just see this by itself, then you can translate this as God, as the creator. And here is the powerful Amen Min, jet black, absolutely powerful, with his plumes on his crown. And we know he's a part of the spirit world because of the curved beard. A curved beard means a person is in the spirit world. If it's a straight beard, then they're among the living. That's the distinction. And so a very powerful image here. This, we love to take our groups here. Some of you remember this. This is in the Luxor Museum. And some people don't go there, but we have to go to see images like this, tremendous masterpieces. Do you see a Neter symbol here on these reliefs anywhere? Anybody?
Middle on the right.
All right, very good, Minister Bill. So that's a Neter symbol. And these are just common formulas dealing with eternity and so forth. That's what you pretty much see. Here's a Tekken, not obelisk. That's the foreigner's name. This is the Tekken, and you have all kind of beautiful glyphs. And here you have Neter again, and they have it in its abbreviated plural form, plural. Sometimes they'll write it 3 times to represent plurality, but if they're abbreviating because of space, then they will use the 3 marks, the literal marks, meaning Neteru. You see it there. So this is common. You see it everywhere. This is the African flag that goes back to classical Kemet thousands of years. Now here we have an actual drawing, an actual painting that has a flag. Do you see it? This is from the tomb of Neferhotep. This is in the Koka tombs. This is not far from the Valley of the Queens, Valley of the Kings. It's in that area. It's the tombs of the nobles, as they call it. You see, anybody see here? Well, this
Near
is
the center and the bottom.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Left. See it on the left and the right. So these are the flagpoles. And notice the color of the original African, classical African flag. They use red for whatever reason. That's the original. That's our flag. That's our traditional flag that goes back to antiquity. We need to know this. As a nation of people, we can't be uninformed about our own tradition. This is it right here, presented in the tomb of Neferhotep. You need a close-up? There it is. You see it? It's right here. This is the flag. This is our original flag presented in Kemet. And you see this here? This is the pylon. You see this? This is standing right in front of it. And here's a Tekken, so-called obelisk, you see behind it, because they're trying to show dimensions. So if you are to the left, and by the way, this is the Karnak temple. So to the left, there's the garden, there's trees, and then you have the pylon here. And in front of the pylon, you have the African flag. And then once you go inside of the temple itself, then there's other monuments and structures such as the massive Tekken. I mean, this is the one of probably Jehuti Jehutimes the first, or Thutmose the first. That's the father of Queen Hatshepsut. This is a 79-foot high monument made out of one single block of granite. And that's what they're presenting here. So here's a close-up. This is the original flag. Every nation, every group has a flag. And it's not just a regular flag, it's a flag that represents the divine. You see it in holy places all the time, but it represents the creator. So this is our tradition. This is it. So now that we've established that, we have to put it in, also move forward and look at it in contemporary context as well. Because this ancient classical, or this classical African tradition is absolutely important. We see the root and origin of it going back to classical Kemet. Clearly, other nations would have had flags like Kush, but it requires research and discovery to do that. But we know that Kush had to have a flag. There's no way to have a massive empire that extended over such a large region in Northeast Africa and not have a flag. But at least we can establish it for Kemet because they left a record. They didn't leave the record for us per se. They had a record for those they were dealing with at that time to let them know that this is what time it is. You're entering into the land of Kemet. And so they flew the flag. There it is. So now you all are all familiar with, obviously, the Pan-African flag. And we're very familiar with it. It's more than a century old, but there's problems that I want to give you some insight about in all due respect. There's problems with the flag, which I'll get to, but it's the colors of red, black, and green. So red represents what?
The blood and the struggle.
Exactly.
Right.
Mr. Alicia, yeah, it represents blood, shed, struggle, and then black represents
what you see.
Clearly African people, right? And then green representing
The land.
the land. Okay, so let me point out the origins of this flag and the problems with how it's presented. So I want to ask you to rethink how we think about our own flag. So this is the Pan-African flag that's been adopted in many places around the world, but it was a response to this nonsense. Two races in 1900, they had a hit song, "Every race has a flag but the coon." This was in 1900, so a couple of white supremacist white nationalists, and this was a big hit that went on for years and years. And so Black folks were not unaware of this kind of propaganda, and nor was Garvey and the UNIA unaware of this kind of propaganda. So in response to the Universal Negro Improvement Association African Communities League major conference in August of 1920. It was a month-long conference in Harlem, and they had it at Liberty Hall. And during this month-long event, it was well attended by tens of thousands of people. But on August the 13th, the UNIA and the African Communities League, they issued the Declaration of Rights of Negro Peoples of the World on this date. And in their declaration, there's a number of things that they presented. But number 39 here, here's where they introduced the flag. So can somebody read number 39, if you would?
That the colors, red, black, and green, be the colors of the Negro race.
All right, thank you, Minister Bill. So that's when the colors were formally introduced to Black folks here in the Western world. These colors by the UNIA and the Honorable Marcus Garvey, because everybody has to have a flag. We saw the flag from Kemet, so let's address now the Pan-African flag. as well. So this flag, we know, but it's not the original flag. This flag we're not so familiar with. The flag on the left is the Mahdi flag, the Mahdi state flag from Sudan. So this was introduced in the 1880s. Now there were different flags used in the Mahdi uprising against the Egyptians and the British who had colonized Sudan. So there's different flags, but this was one of the main flags of the Mahdi state as they rose up in warfare to free Sudan from imperialists from Britain and also imperialists from Egypt. And this flag, if you take a look at the years, this is long before the UNIA introduced this flag in 1920. So let me give you the connection and we'll talk about what the issue is here. We've already established that black represents the people, red means struggle and bloodshed, and green represents the land and prosperity, all of those kind of things. So what about this Mahdi state flag? Well, we have to go back to Deuce Muhammad Ali. So Deuce Muhammad, he was, if you take a look at when he was born, Deuce Muhammad was around pretty much a generation before Marcus Garvey. And Deuce Muhammad Ali, his father, who was Abdul Salim Ali, his father fought with the Egyptian army against the Mahdi. So Deuce Muhammad was well aware of these Africans that rose up in Sudan against the British and the Egyptians. And so this is one of the Beja brothers. There's different groups that came together in Sudan to try to expel the opponents. But this is the Mahdi revolt in Sudan beginning in the early 1800s. And they used the flag. And so Deuce Muhammad Ali's father, Abdul Salim Ali, was one fighting with the Egyptian folks, the imperialists, against these Africans in Sudan. And this is the flag that they used. So Deuce Muhammad was born in Egypt. He was in touch with his father, close with his father. And so he certainly would have known, everybody would have known about the Mahdi flag because it was big. It was really big in Egypt, this Mahdi revolt. People were involved, thousands of folks involved, and thousands and thousands of deaths as well. So if you look at Deuce Muhammad Ali and you take a look at the Honorable Marcus Garvey, there's a generation difference. So well, what's the connection? How could we say that the Mahdi state flag is the origin of the Pan-African flag? That's a good question. Just because one's older does not mean that there's an influence. But the connection occurs in London. So when Marcus Garvey went to London in 1912, and then in 1913, he meets Deuce Muhammad Ali and actually worked for Deuce Muhammad Ali, and even wrote in his paper, the African Times and Orient Review. The African Times and Orient Review, Garvey wrote for the paper of Deuce Muhammad Ali, and Garvey needed money. He's in his mid-20s, he's just making 26 years of age, and he needed income. So Deuce Muhammad Ali, he employed Garvey. He hired Garvey. He helped give Garvey some resources. So there's no question whatsoever that the connection of Deuce Muhammad Ali, who's guiding Garvey, as Garvey is a generation younger, then Garvey would have learned about the flag at that point, at that time, through Deuce Muhammad Ali. And later on, by the way, Deuce Muhammad started he worked within the UNIA and would also write in the Negro World, the UNIA's paper. So this is the connection that between the Mahdi flag and the Pan-African flag. But what do you notice that's different other than the symbol in the middle?
The colors are in different positions.
Yes, absolutely. Brother Katabazi, the colors have been flipped. And now we have a problem. It's the problem that the great Carter G. Woodson pointed out in the 1930s in reference to African Heritage Month. And that is what concerned Carter G. Woodson and must concern us today is that we cannot simply associate Black people with problems. So our color cannot simply be red first, that every time we look at ourselves and present our cause, it's always something negative. No, we have to assert our humanity first. So Black has to come first. We have to assert our humanity and focus on achievements, accomplishments, and contributions to humanity. Sure, we can address problems, but we cannot lead with problems. And what concerned Carter G. Woodson was the fact that everything regarding Black people was something negative. And that February was a time to assert our humanity, to assert the achievements, the accomplishments, and contributions to the world. So what the UNIA did was honorable. They put a flag on the map that 100 years later, people are still using. States, countries are still using, but we have it upside down. We cannot have struggle first. No, the people are more important than always struggling. So it should be black, red, and green like the original Mahdi flag. So I got to give credit to Minister Alicia. I see you with your green. I see you with your green hat. You must have been peering in on my computer when I was finishing my presentation. So I'm gonna rock it. I'm gonna rock my green. Yeah, I'm not looking at you. It's okay. You're green, red, and green, black, and red. Okay, she's got red at the bottom. I love it. Hey, red must be there. I'm just saying it needs to be minimized. It can't be first. So whoever is the artist or seamstress, we need that person to duplicate and replicate black, red, and green. If you want to go with green, black, and red, that's fine. Now, if you got black, red, and green, I'm sorry, if you have the Pan-African colors, red, black, and green, whether it's a bandera or a flag for Kwanzaa, or you keep it up or whatever it is, that's all right. Just don't buy another one with those colors. We need to hire the right people to present the right message, because we can't always focus on Black people and struggle. It reminds me, my brothers and sisters, of how I had to shut this down at the college, Contra Costa College. A few years ago, somebody thought that they were promoting equity, and they put on the campus website an event at UC Berkeley because some brother had success in getting white nationalists out of the KKK, and that was the event for Black History Month. I said, take that down. We don't support that. How are you going to have something in our month dealing with the Klan? So take it down. Number one. Number two, don't ever do that again. And number three, don't make a move unless you check with me first. And I CC'd the president, and I wasn't looking for approval. I'm simply giving notification that this is our boundaries. As my late mother would say, these are the ground rules, that Black folks are not always going to be associated with a problem, getting beat down by the police or shot. No, we have to be in the tradition of the great Carter G. Woodson. So that's the issue. We must change the colors back to the original colors, and we know where the influence came from, and the folks in the Mahdi state, they had it right. So let's see what's happening today. Take a look at these state flags. You got several state flags here, and which flags are we looking at? Well, on the left here, this is the flag from Malawi. This is the flag from Kenya.
Oh, my. Yeah.
And this is the flag from the newest country in the world.
South Sudan.
South Sudan, very good, exactly. And then you have this flag here, bottom left, that's Libya, they got it wrong. And and then you have Martinique and St. Kitts and Nevis. So these are the flags now that's represented by actual states, actual countries. So Malawi, they present the starburst, as you see, and it's like it's a star of hope for them. I'm sorry, it's a burst of hope for the people of Malawi. We're talking in East Africa. And then in Kenya, we know black for the people, red for struggle, green for
land,
future, the land, absolutely. And then white for peace, And this is a shield of the Messiah to defend the freedom. So that's why they have that there. Then South Sudan, same thing. The people, the struggle, and then you have the land. And they have blue because this represents the life-giving waters of the Nile. And then the star, the yellow star in South Sudan represents unity between the 10 states. And then Libya, it's totally different. In Libya, this is the sword. And for Libya, they're not really dealing with the African people. This also has to do with battle. But anyway, that's the red, black, and green. And then Martinique, you see the colors. And in St. Kitts and Nevis, they have the yellow because it represents year-round sunshine in St. Kitts and Nevis. So some of the countries, they have it right. So we, as leaders in the African world, and we are, as I travel around the world, as some of you know, and we all should know, is that people around the world look towards us for leadership. Who's us? Black folks in the US. Case in point, right now, the month of October, this is African Heritage Month in the UK. They started it in the late 80s because it was modeled after our African Heritage Month from 1926. So in the UK, this is so-called Black History Month, this month. And how did they start it? When they brought in some illustrious ancestors like Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, and others, when they were brought in to teach and give insight to the Africans in London, then they eventually made October what they call Black History Month. So we have a global influence. So we have to make sure we get it right. And collectively, what could be more important than a flag? And this is the one thing that we cannot get wrong. So we can't just follow the Honorable Marcus Garvey and the UNIA because they made great contributions and leave it at that. That would be folly. Every generation must contribute, must move forward. So we take the colors, we recognize that they were able to present a Pan-African idea. Remember, images are impactful. We said that earlier. So now we have to make sure that it's the right color scheme. So only we can do that. How about that? We'll say community in the forefront of reordering the colors and make this a national referendum on getting it correct and right. Then automatically people in the Caribbean, automatically people in parts of Europe, like in the Netherlands and in France, in the UK, Africans on the continent, they will adopt these colors because they make sense. And not only that, but some countries have already gotten it right. So we have to make sure that we make the adjustment to the original flag that was presented. So if we look at the big picture, we have a full scheme going back to classical Kemet thousands of years ago of a classical African flag. And then we're able to use this base and foundation to make sure that we have the right color scheme of the modern Pan-African flag. So that's what our task is, we'll say, and it's not difficult to do. It's really straightforward. We just have to make sure that we buy and promote the right colors. Just like there was a great cultural movement in the Black Arts movement in the 70s, late 60s and 70s, then we can start that movement again and make sure that coming up in a couple of months that we're only promoting the right color scheme. So black, red, and green. And Minister Alicia, wherever you got that from, let the folks let the folks know what they
got it from my hands.
Oh, excellent. Great. Okay. So she's taking orders, I'm sure. So so she's taking orders. So anyway, folks, that's the crucial thing that we need to know about our spiritual tradition from antiquity, from the classical period, and our modern cultural and political obligation to make sure that we get it right in the name of the ancestors. And then finally, I just wanted to share with you that these are the dates where I'm going back to Kemet, taking folks this summer, and 15 days. So you're welcome to join. And be a part of the mission there to learn from an inside perspective, June 8th to the 22nd. And then Brother Damani was quoting from my book, A History of African Civilizations, the second revised edition. So this is just off the press. And I'll send out information of when I'll be doing another book signing at Marcus as well. So I appreciate it, we'll say. So this is the presentation on the classical African flag. And so you've been duly informed. So Hotep.
Uncle Johnson there. Baba, what if we looked at what if we looked at the red in the flag as being a symbol of the ancient Kemetic flag?
That would be a tremendous twist on the flag color for sure.
And it would connect us to ancient Kemet.
Absolutely, I'm in favor of that. That's great suggestion. Why not? We haven't seen it. We haven't seen this before. So why not be a maverick organization and pioneers and do that?
Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you, Professor Manu.
Yes, sir. You're welcome, my brother.
And I should point out that if you look at the Bendera that Maulana Karenga has been promoting, it is in the correct order. Oh, that is black first, then red, then green. So,
Ashe.
thank you.
Yep.
We'll do our best to get in that order also.
Indeed,
Right
there are
order.
hands that are up for question, it looks like. I see Sister
Keisha, please.
I have one question. Thank you, Brother Manu. As usual, you are a blessing to us. But I have a question about the red, because in the store we've sold a lot of the flags, and we have always said the meaning of the red was courage. We never said it was and courage and struggle, but primarily that's what we have talked about. And there are a lot of people who hadn't known anything about the flag, and as a person providing it for them, as a matter of fact, we have a list that we give out. And so just as an addition, I understand what you were referring to, because a lot of people see red as the blood and the struggle and all, but we talked about the strength of our people from the blood.
I appreciate that. Well, you know what I would say, Sister Keisha, is that then that's great. You know, you're teaching and educating the folks, but universally, people associate that with bloodshed and struggle. Even all of those countries officially, that's their interpretation as well. But I would say that the most important thing was to reverse the order. Yeah, to reverse the order, because the people are more important than any struggle and bloodshed and problems. But let's be honest, my brothers and sisters, we've been conditioned to put struggle first. Yes, look, my whole life is a response to my enemy. Absolutely, that's my whole life is a response. But how effective can I be if I just present it in that context? I'm responding to my historical enemy, my opponent. No, I have to keep it positive, because ultimately it hadn't always been that way. So this is the more recent challenges that we have to deal with. So this is why we focus on, as I do in the book, for example, the African experience before slavery, before colonialism, and before derailment. And I don't even mention colonialism and slavery, anything like that. And I don't allow students to bring that in the classroom. We ain't dealing with that. That's another course. So I would say that you know, we can redefine some of the colors, but we got to put black first.
Ashe, black first. Sister Sunshine, you had a comment? Okay.
Yes, yes and no. Thank you. With the, I was trying to gather my thoughts in a more concise way so that I didn't ramble openly on the mic, but it was in reference to the blood and our blood, in terms of like our genetics and that being what connects us throughout the diaspora, and looking at it as not a problematic factor, but as a unifying factor. That was all. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, my sister. Well, let's be clear. Nobody interprets it that way. So I think we have to be very clear how universally it's always been interpreted as struggle and bloodshed, and it's still interpreted that way today. So, like, for example, if you go and deal with the countries that have the flags, they officially explain it that way. It was explained that way by the UNIA as well. And the UNIA introduced the flag. They provided the context. So we don't want to do like some people have done. Like there's one brother who has reinterpreted the N-word and tries to connect that to Medu Neter. And let me tell you something. When there was an ASCAC conference here in West Oakland, I was sitting next to the great linguist Obinga. And this is a public service. I won't tell you exactly what he said. Well, okay, I'll abbreviate it. When the presentation was almost over, he looked at me and said, "And Pim, this is," he said, "it's BS." And I said, "I know, doctor." We just shook our head because you had a guy who doesn't know linguistics at all. And because he uses the N-word day and night, night and day, he's misrepresenting Medu Neter, which he didn't understand at all. He didn't even understand the basis. And then, so Obinga and I was talking, sitting directly in front of me is the late brother Renoko Rashidi. He turned around and said, "Brother, don't you think this is kind of basic for an ASCAC audience?" I said, "Brother, it's basic and off base as well." So we were all just sitting there and said, "Really? This is scholarship?" So I just would say is that there's no redirecting what was originally presented by the UNIA, because they provided the context, and 100 years later, everybody with rare exceptions still associated that way as simply struggle and bloodshed. We simply have to recognize the people are more important. And this is what Carter G. Woodson was arguing in the 1930s. So in my book, the second edition, I have a section on the great Carter G. Woodson and his embracing and promoting of African civilizations, because he's left out. Carter G. Woodson's left out. But if you look at his scholarship and the books that he wrote, as well as him editing the Journal of Negro History, the first issue of that in 1916, as well as and all the way through, and as well as the first issue of the Negro History Bulletin, it's a focus on Africa and African civilizations. His last two books were on African civilizations, but Carter G. Woodson is usually left out simply because folks have not done the scholarship. And I know why. It's because those that have research skills, they're trained in dealing with Negro business, with Black slavery. Even if it's the resistance to slavery, still a negative context. And they're not following Woodson. Even people in his organization, they're not following Woodson, because they leave out the very thing that he promoted. The last three essays that Carter G. Woodson wrote, he passed in 1950. The last three essays was a three-part series entitled Egypt. That was the title, Egypt, a three-part series, because he's dealing with African civilization. So the last three articles that Woodson wrote, Africa. The last two books he wrote, dealing with Africa, African heroes and heroines, the African background outline. This is not presented. So you have people that are misrepresenting Woodson. That's not difficult to prove. Not only that, but they gave up the very thing that Woodson made a central part of his work, which is to have an independent publishing house called Associated Publishers. A few years ago, they gave that up. Woodson said he didn't want any white editor, somebody to oversee and edit his work. And that he said publishing the truth is self-defense. So Woodson would have never gave up the independent publishing, but his organization has. Now you want to get the journal, you go to the University of Chicago. That's where they're at. This is their mentality. So we're not even getting Woodson, who is giving us insight about how we have to stop our opponent, stop the white supremacists, stop the media, and stop ourselves from always presenting us as a problem. And you know that we haven't grown much, because if we look at the itinerary for February, it's usually some negative event. Even if it's even if it's giving awards to somebody who fought against some racists in their local area, okay, great. But why are we emphasizing and promoting that above and beyond anything else? Where's the focus on African achievements? Where's the focus on African contributions to humanity? If you want to mention something like that, where's the balance? And there's normally not any balance. So when they ask me to present, it's usually last minute, just to make it look good, check a box off. And, well, Professor, we were referred to you. Can you do 10 minutes? No. You're not going to do 10 minutes. Absolutely not. So then when I agree to a time, guess what? I deliberately go over. What they're going to do, they're not going to take the mic from me. And by the way, if you don't invite me back, it doesn't matter. I got the word out on this occasion. So if I agree to 15, I'm going 25. That's how it is. So the singing and dancing and superficial poetry, you can do all of that. But guess what? I'm going to lay it down and teach the history and the insight about our traditional culture. And then y'all can do whatever you want to do the rest of the event or next year. But that's not unique. It's following in the footsteps of Carter G. Woodson. So I hear folks, but I would say let's be forward thinking and not allow our enemy to continue to present Africa only in a negative light and present Black folks in the US and other places only in a negative light, because it's setting up the next stage, so when something happens and they wipe out some folks, people don't think twice about it because they don't understand the significance of Africa anyway. So this has dire implications. I'll tell you one thing, Carter G. Woodson, for him, if we don't do this, it may lead to our extermination. This is how he calculated it.
Professor Manu, we have one more question from
Yes, sir.
Four.
Yes, sir.
Number 4.
Yes. Thanks, brother. I always appreciate all of the wisdom and information and knowledge that you share. But I did have one question. We've talked about the colors of the flag and the sequence, but what were some of the main colors in the flags at the ancient temples?
In Kemet,
yes,
we don't know. Just what I showed you, just red is shown.
Just red. Okay.
That's the only one that we know of, the red.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So anyway, thank you, Osei. So that's our mission. Let's keep it positive with Black folks, and let's rearrange the colors. All right.
Minister Makalisi has a.
I just wanted to make a reference to Dr. Carter G. Woodson that back there in the early 1900s, when Negro as well as white so-called historians were saying to us as a people that we didn't have any history. And Dr. Woodson was saying that, yeah, we need to be studying our African traditions, our African history and developments. And then from my recollection, over the years since we've had the association, what do they call themselves nowadays? But with that recommendation and insistence from Dr. Woodson, there's only been, Africa has been mentioned only like 3 or 4 times in the themes for Negro History Month and Negro History Week from the association. So there was this resistance from his view and really dealing with reality.
I appreciate that. I don't think that since he passed in 1950 that they've ever had a theme with Africa in it.
Oh,
yeah, they haven't. So they run away. And by the way, in Osala, the organization, they set the national theme every year, and usually the White House acknowledges that theme. And when we do our events, we look at it and see if it's something that might give us an idea, but we're never limited to it at all. Their theme this year was resistance. But we put in the context that it was resistance to having our culture obliterated and decimated. So that's how we presented the idea of resistance, that we are resisting the onslaught by the outsiders and working to maintain our cultural traditions in the Western world. So for us, it's always a connection with Africa. But you're right, his organization themes have been off.
Well, we'll say and guess. You heard what we're about. Baba Damani said it. It's about the truth. Professor Manu said it. It's about the truth, our truth, not all this silliness on the side, focusing on our people.
Yes.
If you hear something, you heard something that you like here, drop us a line. Get in touch with one of the ministers here, myself, Minister Imhotep's here, Minister Alicia is here. Any of us would be happy to talk with you and bring you in. Please join us.
Yes, and we await the next part of Manu Ampim's brilliant knowledge and wisdom. Sometime soon. Okay?
Shit.
Shay, thank you, sir.
Baba Jeff, you have a song for us?
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Beautiful. Another great one, Baba Jeff.
And now to them who is able to lift us up faultlessly before the throne on high. May they empower us to be one people.
One people.
One people.
With one aim.
One aim.
One aim.
One vision.
One
vision.
One faith.
One faith.
One love.
One
love.
One God.
One
God.
You are the most beautiful people on the face of this earth.
Say.
Ashe.
Are you calling upon this one God?
Amen. Amen. Ra. Rashid.